What's up, everybody? We are back with fantasy football. It is just finished week 2, so we're going to kind of go into our players who I think you should pick up. But going into week 3, I am going to try to have this one out before waiver wire pickups, so not everyone's scrambling to the last minute. But let's jump in, and as always, if any fantasy football, make sure you guys go back and watch my preseason picks as well as my before week 2 pickups. I think I've so far kind of highlighted some pretty good players. So definitely stay tuned if you want some fantasy football and even NFL talk. I did just posted a week 2 recap as well. So make sure you guys are following or liking and subscribing to the channel and to the video. And as always, we will jump right in. So very first, this week, I'm going to kind of sprinkle in some little, wow, I cannot talk. Some people at each position. There we go. I don't know why that was so hard. So I'm going to have some quarterbacks, some tight ends, some running backs, and receivers. I left off defenses and kickers. Just I feel like that's kind of self-explanatory why, but so to jump into it, the very first person is Joe Burrow. So if you are in a deeper league with like 10, 12 people, maybe 12 to 14, Burrow might still be there, and he's only rostered in about 50.9% of the leagues. I highly recommend going to pick him up. He's probably my number one quarterback, just like of waiver wire pickups. So basically, last week, if you guys did not watch it, he had a pretty good week against the Bengals. He is the real deal. He had 316 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also adds some in the running game. I know he did have a fumble, or was that last game? I believe so. I'm blanking on his. I think he had the fumble last game and then the pick. No, I'm incorrect. Let me double check that. But still, he's a baller. Sorry, I'm second guessing myself. But still, he's a baller. Forget his negative plays. He's the real deal for the Bengals. The only reason I would not say plug and play him as a starter, unless you need to, is because his team is bad. Unfortunately, I think he's going to be a guy who's pretty solidly around that 20-point marker, which is not bad for a quarterback, especially one that you can pick up off the waiver wire. The only reason I think that he may not have some of those breakout performances like Mahomes, right, like Russell Wilson, is because his supporting cast is not very good. AJ Green looks like a shell of himself. T. Higgins has made some plays. John Ross, who knows? Tyler Boyd looked pretty well. So the biggest point is, and his O-line is atrocious. So the biggest point is that he just doesn't have the players around him. But I think in terms of quarterback, if you need one, I'd pick him up. He's the real deal in my opinion. I think he's a pretty safe bet if your starter gets hurt or you do need a guy to kind of go off, or you do need a guy for when your quarterback has a week off or is on a bad matchup. Next person is we'll stick with the Bengals just because my next player is a Bengal, and then I'll jump back to quarterback. Is Drew Sample. So their starting tight end Uzama. I don't remember exactly how to pronounce his last name. Unfortunately, Uzama. Yeah, CJ Uzama. He is unfortunately out for the year with a torn Achilles. That was, very, very sad for him and for all the injuries in week 2. It was really rough week. But that does give Drew Sample a chance to step in. He immediately comes in and makes a one-hand catch and kind of makes it look effortless. So the biggest thing for him is he is going Joe Burrow really likes to throw it to his tight ends. I think Uzama had one of the highest targets in the first week and some change. He gets targeted a lot. He or he will get targeted a lot. Burrow really likes his tight ends, and I think especially with his poor offensive line, he's really going to rely on those checkdowns. So Drew Sample is a person that I would go pick up if you need tight end depth, if you need a replacement, or if you need a guy to come in because if you have Kittle and he's hurt, or a guy's on a bye, or you just need to kind of stash, because I think he could be a pretty good stash pick, just because I think as he gets more and more comfortable with Burrow, more and more we'll see out of him. So now on to the Tennessee Titans. I did not plan this, but the first four are actually teammates. So if you're going back to quarterback, if you need a quarterback, Ryan Tannehill. I know a lot of people were pretty skeptical on him and going into this year. He's only rostered in 40.5% of the leagues, less than half. If he's available, I would go pick him up. If you don't have one of those, if you don't have Mahomes, Wilson, Rodgers, if you don't have like those top three guys, I would go pick him up. He looks like he is picking up where he left off. He's been really, really good. I believe ESPN has him ranked number 9 right now. He's another one of those. He's going to get you around 20 to 25 points per game, and he has the weapons, unlike Burrow, to potentially pop, on depending on matchups and stuff like that. He could potentially drop a 30-point game. I would not be surprised. So yeah, definitely if you need a backup quarterback, or you need a quarterback in general, I'd be on the lookout for him. My next player is Jonnu Smith, also sticking with the quarterback tight end combo. Jonnu Smith, another player who a lot of people were a little hesitant on going into this season, rightfully so, but he has looked the part. He is a really, really good tight end, and the way that the Titans play action pass, that he is always going to be involved, whether it be in the run game, whether it be in the pass game. He's going to be involved. Right now, he's the 3rd ranked tight end. He did just have an insane week last week. I think he had 2 touchdowns and 80 yards, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check that. Yeah, for some reason.
Daniel, I know we're going to get into some defenses.
Here we go.
Real quick, if you had a tight end that you liked off the...
Yep, sorry. My computer was being really, really slow. But yeah, so he had 2 touchdowns, 80 yards, or 78 yards, I believe. 84 yards, sorry. Wow, I could not read that. And then he is, like I said, he's a guy that is always going to be involved. He really, really looks the part, and he's only rostered in 51.5% of the leagues. I would pick him up, and he's a potential pickup from the waiver wire and start. Like he looks like he could be one of the best tight ends in football. So I would just pick him up and potentially start him right away. Next player, we'll go on to running back. So we will have kind of 2 New York Giants here. We'll have the first one is Dion Lewis. And so Dion Lewis is only rostered in 2.1% of the league, so almost none, with unfortunately another injury to Saquon Barkley. That does suck for the Giants, but Dion Lewis could be a guy that comes in and maybe not gets the carries, even though he did with Barkley out, but that's because he was the only guy left. But he'll get a lot of the pass catching. So I think he is a guy, especially in PPR leagues, you may want to pick up. And then Deontay Freeman is the other Giant that you may want to pick up. I know the Giants, I'm a little hesitant on both of these guys because the Giants' offense sucks. And at this point in time, the Giants are expected to sign Devonta Freeman. I think it's just pending on, as long as he doesn't have COVID, I think he has to pass the COVID test. So I would pick him up and maybe not start him immediately, even though he's expected to get the workload, him and Dion Lewis. I don't know. The Giants' offense is pretty bad, and their O-line's bad. I honestly like Dion Lewis more than I like Devonta Freeman at first. Once we kind of see the splits and carries and targets and stuff, I could change that. But I would probably, I'd safe to say, pick up one or the other, if not both, if you can't afford to. Dion Lewis would kind of be my edge there, but who knows? We'll kind of see as that situation plays out. It may take a week or two, but Devontae Freeman is rostered in 15.3% of leagues, surprisingly a decent amount. I think it's just a lot of people were stashing him, but even that 15%, anything below like 50% is a pretty good rate that he'll be available in your league. So the next one is Myles Gaskin. Why is it not? I was spelling Miles wrong. Sorry, I'm trying to. I'm looking up his ESPN like availability just so I can let you guys know. So he is Myles Gaskin, running back for the Dolphins. He's available in he's rostered in only 19.9% of the leagues. So he is really just there to catch passes. But hey, if you're playing PPR, that's all you need. If you have half point or PPR and you're in a deeper league, 12, 14 people, I know I have a couple of leagues like that, he could potentially be there, and he'll be a pretty good pickup. And the Dolphins are going to be down a lot, so hey, they'll be checking it down. Even if it's checkdowns, he has the potential to break them, so I'd be on the lookout for him. Next running back is Joshua Kelly for the Chargers. Kelly is rostered in 39.8% of the league, so just about 40%. He is a really, really good, I guess, handcuff to Austin Eckler, but also, even when Eckler's playing, I mean, he gets a good amount of carries. Last week against the Chiefs, he got 23 carries, just 64 yards, but he has so far kind of been like their goal line guy, I guess, and he's played pretty well, and he was used in the passing game last week, but that's not really why he's there. Austin Eckler's more there, but kind of between the tackles runner, Kelly, he looks pretty good. I'd pick him up. I think he's a pretty good option if you are in a deeper league and need a running back, or I don't want to say it, or no, I guess knock on wood. If Austin Eckler were to go down, I think Kelly could kind of fit right in there, and maybe not pick up in the passing game, but definitely have an impact. Next running back is Jerick McKinnon for the San Francisco 49ers. So, man, the 49ers decimated by injuries. Another team. Raheem Mostert, I believe, has a MCL sprain or PCL sprain. I can't remember exactly. Tevin Coleman apparently also has a knee issue. They're down to their third string, which is Jerick McKinnon. And even when those other guys were healthy, the 49ers had kind of I mean, he's also just getting healthy, but they had just started using him, and he's shown some flashes. He's been exciting. He had that 50-yard run on like third and a mile on third and like 30. So he has potential to kind of fit right in and be that pass catcher. He may not be their runner in between the tackles and may not get a bulk of their carries, but at this point, I don't really know who else they have. They have Jeff Wilson, so he may be more of their runner, but McKinnon, I would not be surprised if he gets a lot of the tosses, the stretches, the sweeps, and the targets. And if you're in a PPR league, definitely be on the lookout for him. I can't remember if I said this. He's rostered in 26.6% of the leagues. I would be on the lookout and pick him up immediately, especially while Mostert and Coleman are out. Now on to wide receivers. First one is Russell Gage. If he's available, you have to go pick him up. He's rostered in 27.8% of the leagues. He is a stud. He is a lot better than what I thought, a lot better than what people thought. Last week against Dallas, he didn't have a breakout game. He had 6 catches for 46 yards and a touchdown, but he's targeted 9 times this week, or week 2. And week 1, he was targeted 12 times for 9 catches, 114. I know he's their third option, being the Falcons, but the Falcons are throwing the ball around. So I even though he's the third option, I am not hesitant at that he'll get the targets, and really he could explode for another week of 114, and even in a PPR, 6 catches for 46 and a touchdown. That's not a bad week. So I'd make sure he'd probably be my number one kind of positional or offensive weapon, like in terms of running back and wide receiver, that I'd make sure to pick up. And then my final player of the week is N'Keal Harry. He's looking a lot better and better with Cam Newton, and he's been surprisingly a lot better than what people thought. Against Seattle, I know they were passing it a lot, so I don't expect him to get this amount of targets, but he got 12 targets, 8 catches for 72 yards. He's kind of exactly what people thought of him last year, is where you throw it to him is where he's going to catch it, and that's where he's going to get down. He is not that rack kind of guy. He's not going to get the run after catch. He's a possession catch receiver to the definition. Wherever he catches it, he's immediately getting tackled, and he's not doing too much after it, but that's kind of what the Patriots need. They have Edelman. They have Bird, who is also another guy who I thought of throwing on this list. But N'Keal Harry, I feel like, is going to, the more and more comfort he gets with Cam Newton, the more and more he's going to get used in that possession catch style. And that's huge in the red zone. So I would definitely keep an eye out on him. If you have room on your team, pick him up and just let him ride. I wouldn't start him, but let's see kind of the rapport he builds with Cam Newton. I think he could potentially, kind of really pick it up down the road. So that is I believe 10, right? Yes, 10, and I guess I was counting them in my head. I guess I threw Bird in there as well, so we'll say 11. 11 guys to potentially pick up. I definitely would say Burrow and Jonnu Smith, as well as McKinnon and Gage in terms of skill position guys. Those 4 would be my go-tos. And then the other guys round out the list. But definitely, if any of those guys are available, I would highly recommend picking them up. But let me know what you guys think, and thank you guys so much for watching. As always, leave your comments below. Make sure to like the video and subscribe for more NFL, NBA, and eventually I will be playing Madden. It's just Madden franchise isn't the greatest, so I'm just kind of waiting for all my friends to get it, trying to convince them to. But stay tuned for more, and I'll see you guys next time.